do chicken stock. We did vegetable stock last week. Who can tell me what Maripla is, either at home or here? Go ahead, Dennis. Carrot, celery, and onion. Do you know the ratio, KB? Jalen, do you know the ratio?
50% onion, 25% carrot, 25%.
Perfect. 50% onion, 25% carrot, 25% celery. Okay, so this recipe calls for a little bit different, where last time it asked you for a quart. Now it's asking you for measurements. So it's asking for 1 pound. So if I have 1 pound of Maripla, how much celery should I have? How many ounces in 1 pound? 16. So somebody already said we had to have 50%. So how many ounces should the onions be? 8. How many ounces should the celery be? 4. How many ounces should the carrots be? 4. Good. So that's perfect. All right. So it says wash our bones. When you wash the bones in for proteins, beef, chicken, fish, you wash the bones in cold water. Anybody know why? We talked about the impurities when you blanch it off.
You could blanch fries too.
What does it do to it? Okay, so what you want to do is you're going to rinse them off so you get the excess blood off it, so you don't have all that extra impurities and stuff in your stock. And with the blood will make it cloudy. So we're just going to rinse it in cold water, and we're going to weigh out 6 pounds. Could you grab me a stainless steel bowl, please? A big one, please. All right, so we got our bones rinsed off. Here's the liquid when we rinse off the bones. You see that red cloudiness? You don't want that in your stock, right? So that's what you're rinsing off. Then we're going to weigh out 6 pounds. Remember the scales, right? When we put this on, it's at 0 right now, right? Is it at 0 now? What's that term called? We have to do what to the scale? Tear it, 0 it out. Very good. Awesome. So I'm going to go make sure it's 0. So now we're accounting for the weight of the bowl. So we're going to do our 6 pounds. These are your carcasses from chicken. Has a lot of chicken still on it. We didn't do that, we bought it that way. So that's 6 pounds. That's going to go in our pot. Okay, so in our pot, after we wash the bones, we remove any of the blood, which we did here, as you see like that, right? Sometimes you'll see liver lines. We don't have them on here, so you don't have to worry about it. But you never want to put the liver or the giblets in there, because that will make it cloudy as well. So now we're going to put our bones in the pot. When you guys do this here, you're going to have to use a pot about this size, because you want to do 1.5 gallons of water. Hot or cold? Cold. Why? Say again?
I don't know.
You always want to start with cold because it's going to help the bones where you're not going to get the cloudiness to it. What else does it do, Chef Muller?
Extract the flavor.
Thank you. I couldn't remember. It extracts the flavor. If you use hot, it doesn't do that, because it basically it's almost like searing it in a way when you use hot. So we're using cold. We need 6 quarts. How many quarts in 1 gallon, KB?
4.
4. Very good. when we measure it out, we want to go flat on the table, or you want to hold it like this?
Flat on the table.
How come?
Because it doesn't balance it out.
Because it'll balance it out. Yep, very good. Hello, Jayla.
Hi, Chef.
Alright, so we're just doing this for the video, but we're normally going to cook this on a stove because it's going to take much longer. So once we got the bones in there, we're going to cover them with the cold water. We're going to bring it to a boil, turn it down to a simmer. And then we're going to cook it for 10 minutes. Then we're going to add the mirepoix. And then we're going to cook it for, it says several hours. It's like 45 minutes to an hour for chicken.
Per pound.
Per pound, yeah. So it's like 4. Well, what is it? It's 3. It's 3 for chicken and 4 to 6 for beef.
Yeah.
So it's 3 hours for chicken, 4 to 6 for beef when you're cooking it. So we're gonna get this on. You guys won't be able to take it off. We'll take it off when you leave because it's got to sit for 3 hours. We can't get it done today. We'll do it again tomorrow. Put it back on and let it cook out. So when you're cooking it out, you're extracting more flavor out of the bones and the mirepoix. The other thing you want to set up is the sachet. Who remembers what goes in the sachet? Bay leaf, okay. Say again? Little beads. What are
I don't
those?
know what they're called.
These little guys?
Yes.
Whole peppercorns.
Yeah.
Half a teaspoon calls for it. It's all right. And then last week we had our thyme in it. This is called for dry. We're going to use the fresh. So we're just going to put a decent amount in there. You can break it up, it's fine. Calls for parsley, stems. And this one calls for cloves. It says 1 clove. You never saw a clove. You ever see like a ham at Easter time? Has those little black things in it with the squares or brown? That's a clove. You can pass this around. You guys at home, it's hard to see, but that's a clove. Okay, then we're going to tie this up. Do our little pouch. Pull it all together. Use our string, we're just going to tie it.
And you guys smell it too?
It smells good.
Very
What-
pungent. That's why one goes in there because it'll release a lot of flavor.
What does it kind of smell like? Like, what do you think it would be used in?
Smells like cinnamon.
Any kind of pie? Pumpkin pie, yep. Pumpkin pie gets cloves a lot. So just tie this up. Remember when we do our sachet, we don't want to have too much extra string hanging off the one end that goes in the soup, or excuse me, in the stock. We're going to have a decent amount hanging off back here, so this is going to get tied to our pot. Sorry? Yep, the handle. Alright, so after we bring it to a boil, we'll turn it down to a simmer, cook for 10 minutes, we're going to add the mirepoix, and then we're going to skim the top. The top will have fat and impurities that's going to come up to the top. We're going to skim it. If you haven't learned this yet, it's in the chapter. There's a term called depoulage. Don't ask me to spell it right now because I have to write it out. You know how to spell it?
Depoulage.
Chef Mullen has it. Depoulage, French term. The French term for skimming the scum. That's what it stands for, skimming the scum. Removing the impurities. So as this boils, the things will come up. You'll see, because on the chicken you have the fat and everything. That'll come up to the top when it cooks and you want to take that off. It almost gets like a foam consistency on the top of it. And then we're going to strain it. We did in the china cap into a pot, right? What's that process called that we do after we strain it to stop it from cooking, to cool it down quickly?
Ice bath.
Ice bath, very good. Thanks, KB. So in a sink, you're going to put your pot that you or your container that you strain the stock into, and add ice and cold water. How far should you fill it up?
I'm not sure.
Say it one more time.
Enough so it won't float.
Enough so it won't float, but also enough that it covers the stock that's in there, as long as it won't float at that point. So you want to fill it as much as you can without it tipping over. Okay? Anybody have any questions on how to do the stock? Maripod, we talked about that. Celery, carrots, and onions. Again, what's the ratio, Jalen?
50% onion, 25% celery, 25% carrot.
Awesome. 50% celery, 25% carrot, 25% celery. And is it okay to use the outsides of the skin?
Yes.
Is it okay not to peel the carrot?
Yes.
What's the exception?
Clean it.
You gotta clean it. Make sure you wash it. Okay? Same thing with the celery. Make sure you're washing them, because you don't want that dirt in there. But it's okay to have the peelings in there. We save all the scraps that you have when we use them when we make a big stock. Okay? But for what you're doing, you're gonna cut them up. Try and just keep the same consistency as far as size goes. Large dice is fine. Anybody have any questions on how to do it? Anybody at home have any questions on how to do it?
I have a question.
Chef Nolan has a question. Hold on.
What happens if you peel the onion and not use the peel
Huh?
for the stock? Like, what if you didn't want to use the peel for the stock? What does it do to the stock?
If you don't use it, well, it's going to be a little bit clearer by not having it, and you may not get as much bitterness.
A little less color
A
too.
little less color that you'll have on it if you don't use the peel. So that's completely up to you. The other thing we noticed too when people did it the other day is you only bring it to a boil one time, turn down the simmer. Don't let it continue to boil. Somebody let their vegetable stock boil and the carrots got so overcooked that vegetable stock was almost brown. And you guys made it, it was almost like a translucent yellowish color kind of, right? It wasn't real, it had like a stronger onion flavor from the leeks. That one had a real bitterness to it because the carrots got overcooked. This, you're actually adding the carrots once you boil this. So in the vegetable one, we sauteed, sweated the vegetables first. That individual went a little bit too long and they got a little bit dark, and then it just made the stock a little bit different. Now that could be something that you want and that you like to have, but it doesn't work for every dish. If you cook it where it's a little bit less, it's going to work for every dish. Anybody at home have any questions?
No.
Everybody's good? You guys here, anybody have any questions? All right, so we're gonna make stock. You guys at home, you're free to leave the call. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.